Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and on this video tonight there is lots to negotiate about. So I am going to be, talking with you of what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said, regarding Marcus Rashford and Paul Pogba. He has given his verdict on Rashford and Paul Pogba. I'm also going to be giving you the latest news on Harry Kane, and also, going to be talking with you about which centre forward Manchester United should sign in the summer transfer window and that. Like I updated you earlier on today, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has revealed his brutal transfer plans, and he insists he will exploit the transfer market, and that's when the transfer market does reopen and that. So yeah, so Solskjaer is making plans for the summer transfer window, but like Solskjaer did say, he thinks, we can get, the players that we want in the summer transfer window, because Solskjaer is aware that a lot of clubs are under financial pressure due to this coronavirus pandemic. So obviously, teams, are going to have to, offload quite a few of their key players to generate funds and that. So this is what, I updated with you earlier on today. So Solskjaer has come out and give his verdict on Marcus Rashford and Paul Pogba, and he did say that Rashford and Paul Pogba can be decisive to Manchester United's season, and that's when the season does eventually resume and that. Now obviously Marcus Rashford was one of our best players earlier on in the season. Obviously, Rashford has been out with a back injury for quite some time. He's been out with this back injury since our win against Wolves in the FA Cup, replay. He's been out since then. And Solskjaer, as you all know, made the wrong decision by playing Rashford in that cup game. If he hadn't played him in that cup game, more than likely this injury wouldn't have occurred. But when the season does eventually resume, Marcus Rashford, should be back in action. But analysing it, Rashford has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. I think a lot of aspects of Rashford's game have improved. You can play Rashford in the number 9. You can also play him out wide. I think actually, Solskjaer does prefer Marcus Rashford out wide, than playing him centrally. But, Rashford up until this point has spent the entirety of his career with the club. He's been a United player since the age of 7. He's been in our senior squad since 2016, and since then he's become an integral part of our team. I think Rashford has got over 60-odd senior goals since he broke into the senior squad in just over 200-odd appearances. And Rashford is on a lot of money at the club. He's on around £200,000 a week, and he's only at the age of 22 is the player. So when the season does resume, Solskjaer does believe that, Rashford will play a big part, for Manchester United, because he's a very imperative player. I don't know from now if he's going to spend the entirety of his career with the club, but so far he has done. Don't forget Rashford scored on his Europa League debut against Midtjylland when he first got into the senior squad. He scored twice on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. He also scored in his first Manchester derby. But Rashford, is definitely one of our best players in that. So yeah, so that's what he said, regarding Marcus Rashford. Now, also, he said the same sort of thing with Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is expected to leave Manchester United in the summer, but Solskjaer has still come out and revealed that Paul Pogba is a very imperative player. Now, obviously, even before Solskjaer got recommended into the Manchester United job, Solskjaer knew Paul Pogba really, really well. Because when Solskjaer managed the Man United reserve team for a couple of years, he watched Paul Pogba grow and develop. So he saw Paul Pogba when he was younger. Now, when Paul Pogba does come back, that will be a relief. And when the season does resume, Paul Pogba should be back in action. I think the last time Pogba and Rashford played was back in December. Now, obviously, Pogba hasn't played since Boxing Day. He hasn't started a game from the start since September. He's only managed 8 appearances this season as Paul Pogba and that. But, United fans have got different perceptions on Pogba. Some United fans will be determined to keep Paul Pogba, and some United fans, would be determined to let him leave. We've revealed how much we want for Paul Pogba, and I think we want around £100 million for him this summer. But, that figure is totally comparison to what we wanted last summer, because last summer we revealed that we wanted around 180 million for Paul Pogba. you can say we priced him out of the market. You know, we was demanding just over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016, because we paid 89 million for Paul Pogba. He is our most expensive signing at the moment. His preference was moved to Real Madrid last summer, but his move to Madrid didn't materialise last summer because Madrid were not willing to meet what we was demanding for the player. But Pogba did reveal last summer that he wanted to leave Man United, because he did say he was seeking for a new challenge, and I do believe now Pogba has got the same perception, you know, than what he had last summer. But I think, you know, his priority is to join Real Madrid. Real Madrid have identified Paul Pogba as their number one priority target for the summer transfer window. You know, Real Madrid, Real Madrid, did recruit around 5 or 6 players in last summer and spent, wasn't nearly £300 million. But, you know, they've been long admirers of Paul Pogba, and don't forget, Paul Pogba, revealed, that he was excited about, playing under Zinedine Zidane's guidance, and he dreams, of course, of playing for Real Madrid. But, he hasn't only been linked to a move to Real Madrid. There's also been narratives in the mainstream media about Pogba possibly making a return to Juventus. Obviously, there's been swap deals on the agenda, so I'm reiterating what I've mentioned on my recent videos, because last week there was talks of De Ligt coming to Manchester United as part of a swap deal of, Pogba going back to Juventus. There was talks of Aaron Ramsey coming to Man United as part of a swap deal of Pogba going back to Juventus and that. So there has been swap deals on the agenda, but like I mentioned, swap deals are very rare in the modern game. But I think he'll go to Real Madrid if he leaves Man United in the summer. Don't forget, Paul Pogba did reveal that he could take a fee for transfer regulation to buy out the remainder of his contract for around £50 million. As it stands at the moment, Pogba's got 2 years left on his contract at Man United, 1 year with an option of a further year. Whether Man United trigger that 1 year extension, I do not know. Maybe they'll trigger it, so obviously it stops his £100 million valuation, going down, because it's very imperative that we get more money for him, than what we paid for him. But I think we can get at least £100 million for Paul Pogba. Don't forget, PSG and also to Barcelona have been in for him in the past. But, since Paul Pogba rejoined Man United from Juventus back in 2016, he has had a long-running transfer saga. This year subjected to intense transfer speculation. Last summer, subject to a lot of transfer speculation. Endured a very difficult time under the Jose Mourinho era. But, Mourinho had bad disputes with the top players. Revert back to the Ferguson era, we had Paul Pogba, came up the youth academy, but due to limited appearances, we had to let Paul Pogba go on a 3 transfer and that. But, Man United probably, don't need him. Obviously, I think if we can sell Paul Pogba, then we can get Jack Grealish on the board, because obviously reports, I updated you about this earlier on today on my last video. He said Grealish to Man United hinges on the sale of Paul Pogba. So we only may get Grealish if we can get rid of Paul Pogba in the summer transfer window. So let's just put that into the equation now. But we could be in trouble now of getting Grealish, like I mentioned, because, Charlie Nicholas, he actually, believes that Grealish's valuation will persistently go up. Grealish, would cost Man United around 60 or 70 million pounds, somewhere in that range. But he is our number one priority target for this summer. But there has been a few players on our agenda who could replace Paul Pogba at the football club. But revert back to around 3 weeks ago. This is actually before all the football got suspended. I think Solsjaker said it in his press conference in Austria, when we played last. And he actually, said that, Paul Pogba's staying at the football club. He'll remain at the club for next season. Pogba even said before Solskjaer reiterated it, he said he was interested in staying at Man United and he was interested in extending his contract. So the narrative, I've actually, changed. Mini Raiola's been talking a lot since the turn of the year. We've been very, very critical of him. Ed Woodward's had negotiations with Mini Raiola, to stop him making public attacks against the football club, because he's made a number of public attacks against the football club as Mini Raiola. But, Pogba, probably he's more chance of going to Madrid than I think Juventus. But if he goes to Juventus, he will be returning to his former club. And like I said, it's very, very rare that players go to their former clubs. We have seen it happen, Rooney did it, don't forget. Rooney went back to Everton after he enjoyed 13 years with Man United. I think it happened with Diego Costa, didn't it? Or Alvaro Morata. Not Diego Costa, Alvaro Morata. Henry, it happened with him. So sometimes, it actually does happen, but, it is very, very rare. So yeah, so Solskjaer, believes, when the season does resume, they will be decisive, on Manchester United's season. So that's Solskjaer's verdict on that. So that's the latest news on that. Now I'm going to delve into some news on Harry Kane. Haven't spoken with you about Harry Kane on my recent videos, haven't I? I haven't really spoken with you about Harry Kane. My perception's still the same. I'm still very, very sceptical that Manchester United will sign Harry Kane in the summer transfer window or whenever, but I don't think we'll sign him. I do believe from my own perception that he will leave Tottenham because quite clearly Tottenham have not matched his ambition. Harry Kane has revealed his ambition, and his ambition is to win some silverware, and he's not experienced this so far with Tottenham. And Harry Kane has been at Tottenham for several years. He has been a Tottenham player. Well, he's been in their senior squad since 2011. So he's been in their senior squad around 9 years now. Obviously, he was in their youth academy for a good 4 or 5 years. Don't forget Harry Kane is Tottenham's third highest goal scorer in their history. Kane's got 181 goals in 261 appearances in all competitions, and just under 200 appearances in the Premier League. He's got around 136 goals as Harry Kane, and without doubt he is Tottenham's best player. Now Dimitar Berbatov, he's a former Man United player. He's come out and give his verdict on, the speculation regarding Kane. And, he actually, believes that Kane would be tempted to leave Tottenham to join Manchester United. Now, obviously, Harry Kane would cost us a substantial amount. Tottenham have quoted out that they want at least £150 million. Some reports said last week that Tottenham wanted around £200 million. But I'm very, very sceptical that Manchester United will pay that, because obviously our transfer budget has been revealed, and Solskjaer is going to get given around £150 million. He's going to get given around £150 million to spend in the summer transfer window, and that obviously the transfer budget will increase, like I mentioned, if we can offload players. And Solskjaer's planning to offload around maybe 5, 6, 7 players in the summer transfer window. But yeah, Kane will cost a lot of money. And like, reiterate what I mentioned before, Daniel Levy, the Tottenham chairman, is a good businessman. I've got to credit him for that. But he's also a very, very hard negotiator, when it comes to recruiting players from Tottenham. Don't forget, we got Berbatov off them before. We also got Michael Carrick off them. And Michael Carrick enjoyed 12 years at Manchester United. And still, one of the coaching assistants now at the club. So he is a very, very hard negotiator, is Daniel Levy. But I think it did say that Ed Woodward was set to hold talks with Daniel Levy. Harry Redknapp gave his verdict on it the other week, and he believes that he would be a great addition to our squad. But, he said, that Harry Kane does need to remain with Tottenham. Now, Kane made the admission the other week, and, he said he could leave Tottenham if, he feels as though the team are not progressing. But he says he will not stay at Tottenham for the sake of it, will Harry Kane. And obviously, Tottenham can't win anything in terms of silverware because they're not in the Champions League. They're not in the FA Cup. So they can't win anything in terms of silverware this season. I'm very, very sceptical that they're going to get qualification for the Champions League for next season. As you all know, Harry Kane has been out with a hamstring injury since New Year's Day. So he's been out of injury for quite a few months now. And obviously, when the season does eventually resume, good news from a Tottenham perspective, Harry Kane will be back. But Kane, don't forget, he said, if the season doesn't resume by the end of June, the season should be cancelled. And maybe Harry Kane, did receive a lot of criticism for that. Back in the summer of 2018, Harry Kane signed a 6-year deal with Tottenham and 6-year contract worth around £200,000 a week. And obviously, he's still got 4 years remaining now on his current contract because he's under contract with Tottenham until 2024, is Harry Kane. But I just think, he feels unhappy under Jose Mourinho's guidance. But like I mentioned, I think, Tottenham did make a big mistake by recommending Jose Mourinho win, because like I mentioned, Jose Mourinho's past his sell-by date. He's no longer a good enough manager at the top level. Got a good pedigree behind him, reflects on the amount of silverware he's won and that, but, Tottenham made a mistake recommending him in. They should have stuck with Mauricio Pochettino. Mauricio Pochettino endured 5.5 years with Tottenham, and analysing the vast majority of Pochettino's tenure, Tottenham were competing in and out of the top four. In the last couple of years of his tenure, Tottenham did become title contenders and that. And there's been talks about Pochettino possibly making a return back to Tottenham, because when he got sacked from Tottenham, he said, he wanted an immediate return to management. But yeah, they did make a really, really bad mistake, did Tottenham, doing that. And Tottenham, don't forget, back in January, lost Christian Eriksen after he was a long-serving player for Tottenham. Christian Eriksen endured 7 years with Tottenham, a very long-serving player. And now, of course, he's at Inter Milan. They lost Danny Rose back in January. They lost Bale and Modric to Real Madrid before, don't forget. Was it around 5 or 6 years ago? They lost them now. Real Madrid are also in for Harry Kane. So, I think there's more chance of him going to Madrid than Man United. Obviously, you've got City that have expressed their interest. You've also, got Juventus that have also been in for, Harry Kane. But yeah, so I can definitely see him leaving Tottenham. Maybe he'll remain loyal to them for another season. If, it doesn't work out next season, then Kane will end up leaving Tottenham. But I can't see Manchester United getting him, to be quite honest with you. But do you think Man United should try and sign him at least? I think he'd be a great addition to the squad, don't get me wrong, but I just think, it's very, very unlikely to happen. But there again, if it did happen, I'd take everything back that I've just said, because, we got a player from North London, and that was Robin van Persie, and we got him from Arsenal back in 2012, and at one point it was looking extremely unlikely that Man United were going to sign him, but we ended up signing him. But it was a long saga, I think it was, but we ended up getting him on the board. How much did we pay for him? I can't remember how much the exact figure was. But you can say, he won us the league back in 2013, reflecting on the amount of goals he scored. It was in Alex Ferguson's last season, by the way. So you never know. But, I just don't see it happening, to be quite honest with you. But we need an adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku, don't we? Obviously, looking likely, we are going to get Odion Ighalo on a permanent transfer. It's going to cost us around £15 million to get Odion Ighalo on a permanent transfer. That's what's been revealed. Odion Ighalo's now, 30 is he? But if he'd have been 4 or 5 years younger, I think it'd have cost a lot more than £15 million. But Solsjaker made the admission, and he did say we're going to decide to get him on a permanent transfer, because Odion Ighalo's enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. He's got 4 goals in 3 starts for the football club. He's good. He's a good cover-up for Rashford. His hold-up play is very, very good. And he's totally comparison to our other attacking players. But he's a cheap solution, Odion Ighalo. He is a cheap solution, isn't he? Obviously, we've got him on loan at the moment. We paid 3 or 4 million to get him on loan, and we're paying a third of his wages. Shanghai Shenhua came out the other week, his parent club, and said they're offering £400,000 a week, plus a 2-year contract extension to, convince him to turn down a permanent move to Man United. But even if, we do get, Odion Ighalo permanently, we still need another centre-forward in there. There's been a lot of strikers on our agenda, and like I mentioned, there's much cheaper solutions than Harry Kane. You've got Aubameyang now that's available for £35 million, because Arsenal knocked £15 million off their valuation. Much cheaper than Kane. You got Timo Werner that'll be available for 50 million, 3 times less than Kane. Raul Jimenez, you'd probably get him in the 30-odd million pound range. So these cheaper solutions than Harry Kane, definitely in that. Much cheaper solutions. But yeah, we definitely need to get a centre forward in. Anthony Martial, he's been playing in that number 9 role this season, even though he predominantly plays out wide on the left. I have criticised Anthony Martial in the past because he's endured some difficult spells as a Manchester United player, but I've got to say, recently he's rejuvenated himself. He has sustained quite a few injuries this season, though, as Anthony Martial, so that you can say that's had a bad effect on him. But I do, like Martial. We need to find him a permanent position. Should he stay in the number 9, or should we revert him back to the left-hand side, Anthony Martial? But yeah, I think he's a long-term solution for the football club is Anthony Martial, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think one of the best seasons he endured was his first season, when Louis van Gaal did recommend him in. We got Anthony Martial at the age of 19. So we have got a lot of good attacking players, definitely. So let's delve into the other topic, which centre-half, should Manchester United sign in the summer transfer window? Now, Solskjaer, wants to recommend a centre-half in, like he's recently revealed. Despite the fact, that we have got a lot of centre-halves in the team, we've got Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof that are our first choice centre-halves. And I've got to say, they've blended in very, very well together. Harry Maguire, is our best centre-half. We paid £80 million for him from Leicester last summer. He's our second most expensive signing, and he's, the most expensive centre-half in the world. And I think he's done well for us. I think he scored 2 goals for the club. We made the right decision by giving Harry Maguire the captaincy on a permanent basis. And he's done really, really well for us. Lindelof, he's now into his 3rd season at Man United. Enjoyed a difficult first season at the club. But I think last season, this season, a lot of aspects of his game have improved. We paid 30 million for him from Benfica. Do you think we should get rid of him to get another centre-half in? Do you think he should be used as a backup? But there again, maybe Lindelof is too good to be a backup. Obviously, our backup centre-halves are Eric Bailly and Alex Tuanzebe. I think Eric Bailly's done well since he's come back from injury, etc., etc. We've got Jones, but Jones is one of the players that's likely to leave Man United in the summer, so there is a lot of centre-halves in the team. Now, obviously, De Ligt, there's been talks about Matthijs De Ligt, obviously. Obviously, Koulibaly, he's been on our agenda from Napoli. Which centre-half, do you think, Manchester United should recommend in? Probably someone on the Harry Maguire's level, no doubt. And that obviously, would be Koulibaly. But, we shall see, But Solskjaer, anyway, don't forget, back in September last year, he agreed with Mike Phelan, the areas, where he wanted to strengthen up. And he revealed them areas, he said he wanted to recommend a centre-forward in, he wanted to recommend a right winger in, and he also wanted to recommend a central midfielder in. So he's identified the areas where he wants to strengthen up. Yes, he has in that. And Solskjaer believes that Man United need around 3 or 4 signings in the summer transfer window to become title contenders next season. This is what, he does believe. But I do believe that Manchester United need qualification for the Champions League for us to attract players to the elite level and to, convince, our imperative players to stay. But I'm very convinced that we can get Champions League football secured for next season. But it is good that Solskjaer's making plans for the summer transfer window. He is making plans for the summer transfer window. Obviously, so far Solskjaer's enjoyed 3 transfer windows at the football club and didn't recommend anyone in his first transfer window. But in the 2 previous windows, he has recommended 5 players in and he's spent around £220 million at the club. But yeah, if he's here in the summer transfer window, it will be his 4th transfer window as Man United manager. More than likely, he will be Manchester United manager next season. But Solskjaer has got the backing of Ed Woodward. He's also got the backing of the Glazers. And quite a lot of our players are still determined to back him. Don't forget, Peter Schmeichel, former Man United goalkeeper, recently come out and credited Solskjaer. And he believes he's the right manager to elevate Man United forward. Matic backed Solskjaer earlier on in the season. But yeah, a lot of people, are still determined to back him. And Solskjaer is still under pressure, to keep this good run of form up, when the season does eventually resume. When, the season does eventually resume and that, he's under pressure to keep this good run of form up. But, the players that are on our agenda, I've obviously, given you the news on Jadon Sancho. It's looking very, very imminent that Man United are going to sign him in the summer. Jack Grealish, could happen. Jack Grealish could happen. Jude Bellingham is still on our agenda. But like I said, we're going to get given £150 million to spend this summer. But, these things, that I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for, like I said, the players he's recommended in, I've got to give him credit for that. He's also got rid of a lot of the deadwood since he's come in, because around 9 players have left in total since he's come in. Obviously, Ashley Young left this year. After he endured 8.5 years, was it, at Man United, we let him go to Inter Milan. We did generate a bit of money for his departure. Obviously, we saw Marcus Rojo go out on loan to Estudiantes. More than likely, we'll negotiate on getting rid of Marcus Rojo on a permanent transfer in the summer. Obviously, we let Smalling go last summer to Roma after he endured 9 years at Manchester United. Chris Smalling. Very sceptical that he'll come back to Man United. I think we'll get rid of him on a permanent transfer. If Roma don't get qualification for the Champions League, then maybe he won't stay with Roma. He may go to another team. We saw Matteo Darmian leave the football club last summer. He went to Parma after he endured 4 or 5 years at Man United. Obviously, Herrera left last summer after he endured 5 years at Man United. We saw Marion Fellaini leave after he endured 6 years at the football club. He went to China back in January 2019. Fellaini, was actually the first player to leave under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. This was before he got the job permanently. And also, too, last summer we saw Lukaku leave. He went to Inter Milan for £70 million. And, we saw Sanchez go out on loan to Inter Milan. Dean Henderson is out on loan at Sheffield United, but looking very, very imminent that he'll be coming back to Man United after his loan spell. There's been talks saying that Dean Henderson could become our number 1 goalkeeper, but maybe he won't be. Maybe De Gea will remain our number 1, but we will see what happens. So a lot of players have gone. A hell of a lot of players have left since his arrival. Obviously, don't forget Solskjaer did have a recruitment presentation with Ed Woodward before to tick off the players, that he wanted to get rid of. This is, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did do. But, he's been talking, a lot with Ed Woodward as Solskjaer. But, yeah, he's going to get rid of more players in the summer, isn't he? Jones is going to go, like I mentioned. I give you, obviously, the news on Jesse Lingard yesterday. Obviously, the Athletic reported early on this week that Arsenal could look to try and sign Jesse Lingard. Arsenal could look to sign Jesse Lingard because they're seeing him as an alternative to Dani Ceballos. Also, too, it recently said that Everton have expressed their interest in Jesse Lingard. Obviously, Everton have got a few midfielders. They've got Andrea Gomez, Gylfi Sigurdsson, and they've got Alex Iwobi. So they probably plan on playing Jesse Lingard as a central midfielder or putting him just behind one of their centre forwards. But if Lingard leaves Man United, which I think he will, will he continue applying his trade in the Premier League? Obviously, Roma and Atletico Madrid that are the other clubs that have expressed their interest in him. But Jesse Lingard has lost the confidence of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Since the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, Jesse Lingard has found game time very, very difficult. And don't forget, Lingard hasn't registered 1 goal or 1 assist in the Premier League for over a year now. So that just indicates how bad he is. And I think Lingard's got exactly a year left on his Manchester United contract. Lingard's made 131 appearances for the club and scored 17 goals in the Premier League. And I said, reflect on his status and the number of years he's been here, Lingard. He should be putting much more better performances out. Yes, he shouldn't that. But I think Lingard did say he wants to remain at Man United and he wants to fight for his place in the team. But we'll get rid of Lingard. We'll definitely get rid of him and we value him at around £30 million. Also, too, I give you the recent news, didn't I, on Alexis Sanchez. It's looking likely, he could be set to stay at Manchester United and likely, he's going to see out the remainder of his contract. Now, I updated you about this recently. The main explanation for this is because Alexis Sanchez is refusing to take a pay cut. Obviously, Sanchez, at Man United was on 400 grand a week, potentially rising up to £500,000 a week, with image rights and bonuses. So, like I said, Sanchez's wages were having a really bad effect on the football club. We wanted to get rid of him permanently in the first place, but we couldn't reflect on his wages, so we loaned him out to Inter Milan. But despite the fact that he's on loan at Inter Milan, we're still paying the vast majority of his wages. we're still paying him like £300,000 a week, and Inter Milan, you know, paying like the other £100,000. But yeah, looking like, you know, Sanchez is going to be staying at the football club. But Sanchez endured a difficult 18 months with Manchester United. But we got him from Arsenal back in January 2018 as part of a swap deal of Mkhitaryan, you know, going to Arsenal and that. So yeah, players are definitely not going to be going in the summer. Also too, you know, we're unbeaten in our last 11 games in all competitions. You know, it's our best vein of form since, you know, Solsjaker was the interim manager, because when Solsjaker was the interim manager, he won his first 8 games. Obviously, you know, we only lost one of our first 17 in all competitions, and he won 14 out of 19. You know, that was enough to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job permanently. And he did well in that 3-month period when he was the temporary boss. Towards the back end of last season, we lost 5 of our last 9 league games, so that was very, very bad. Overall, since Solskjaer got the job permanently, his record has been disastrous. There's positives to take from his tenure so far, and there's some negative to take from his tenure. Solskjaer's been here now for almost 16 months. So he has been at the football club now over a year. But, you know, he's promoted the youth very, very well, so I've got to credit him for that. We've enjoyed our worst start ever to a Premier League season. So let's just take that into account. Solskjaer was saying yesterday that, you know, footballers are easy targets, and, you know, the criticism on them is unfair, because obviously, you know, it's going to happen, is it? You know, players are going to get their wages cut by around 30%, you know, to the NHS. Premier League, I think, have already paid £20 million to the NHS and 125 million in advance payments to the EFL and the Championship, the EFL and National League, sorry. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, that's everything to update today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.